Welcome to a special edition of Great Day at Gateway for September 10th, 2012. I'm David Carpenter. Today on Great Day, we pause to remember. 11 years ago tomorrow was September 11th, 2001, a Tuesday. It started out like 1,000 other beautiful days that signaled the end of summer and the beginning of fall. But before that day was over, a nightmare had unfolded for America. Unknown to millions of Amerians who were going about their normal Tuesday routine, 19 men were boarding public airplanes at Boston's Logan Airport, Newark, New Jersey, and Washington's Dulles International. At 8:14 Eastern Time, American Airlines Flight 11 failed to heed the air traffic controller's instruction to climb to 35,000 feet. By 8:20, FAA controllers decided that Flight 11 had been hijacked. 1 minute later, Flight 11's transponder signal was turned off. Also at 8:20, American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757 with 58 passengers and 6 crew members, departed from Washington Dulles International Airport, presumably for Los Angeles, but not so. 5 hijackers are on board. 26 minutes later, at 8:46 Eastern Time, 7:46 Central, Flight 11 crashes at roughly 466 miles per hour into the north face of the North Tower, number 1 World Trade Center, between floors 93 and 99. In less than 2 minutes, the first television report of an incident at the World Trade Center is broadcast in New York by WNYW, with the first live TV pictures of black smoke coming from the North Tower, relayed by a WNYW cameraman at ground level. One of the station's camera crews already had been out on the street that morning for New York's mayoral primary election. As WNYW broadcasts at the first live pictures of smoke, the voice of reporter Dick Oliver is heard from the scene. Within minutes now, 3 American passenger airplanes are under the control of the terrorists. At 9:03, Flight 175 crashes at about 590 miles per hour into the south face of Tower 2, the South Tower of the World Trade Center, between floors 77 and 85. By this time, the 3 major networks have interrupted their morning shows and are covering the first plane crash so that millions see the impact live. At 9:05, President Bush is about to read with a group of students at the Emma E. Booker Elementary School in Sarasota County, Florida, when Chief of Staff Andrew Card interrupts to whisper to the President, "A second plane has hit the second tower. America is under attack." By 9:26, the FAA had banned takeoffs of all civilian aircrafts, regardless of destination, a national ground stop, the first in history. All military bases in the United States are ordered to increase threat condition to Delta status, meaning that a terrorist attack was in progress. 2 minutes later, at 9:28, hijackers storm the cockpit on Flight 93 and take over the flight. The entry of the hijackers is overheard by the flight controllers in Cleveland. The flight then reverses direction over Ohio, turning back towards the East Coast. At 9:37, literally seconds after Vice President Cheney enters an underground tunnel leading to a security bunker, Flight 77 crashes into the western side of the Pentagon at 530 miles an hour. All 64 people on board are killed, along with 125 Pentagon personnel. At 9:59, the South Tower of the World Trade Center begins to collapse, 56 minutes after the impact of Flight 175. As the roar of the collapse goes silent, tremendous gray-white clouds of dust and debris rush through the concrete canyons of lower Manhattan. Minutes later, at 10:03, United Airlines Flight 93 is crashed due to fighting in the cockpit 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. Later reports indicate that passengers had learned about the World Trade Center and Pentagon crashes on cell phones, and at least 3 were planning on resisting the hijackers. The resistance was confirmed by Flight 93's cockpit voice recording, on which the hijackers are heard making their decision to down the plane before the passengers succeed in breaching the cockpit door. It is now believed that Flight 93's target was either the United States Capitol building or the White House. 10:28, the North Tower of the World Trade Center collapses 1 hour, 42 minutes after the impact of Flight 11. Meanwhile, landmarks in major cities were evacuated, and the word began to spread across America that this day, too, would live in infamy. Across America, people in schools, hospitals, police stations, and other first responders heard the news and reacted. Here are just a few.
My name is Martha. I'm a CNA. I was working at Memorial Hospital in Belleville, Illinois on September the 11th, 2001. I had just finished doing my first vitals for the morning. I had gone up to the nurse's station to give my nurse my information when one of the ladies from respiratory came running up to the nurse's station, and she said, something terrible's happened. You've got to come down to room 283. You've got to come down to room 283. So we all ran down there because I thought, oh my goodness, my patient has died. I just walked out the room and my patient is now dead. But what we saw was a replay of the plane hitting the Twin Towers. And it was just a horrible day for everybody in that hospital, especially on that floor because you already have sick people. It's a heart floor. So about a minute later on the intercom, the hospital made an announcement that at 10 o'clock that they would have a prayer service in the chapel for anyone who could attend. And that's what happened on September 11th, 2001. We'll never forget it.
Hi, I'm Terry McFarland, and on 9/11/2001, I was a detective sergeant with the Cahokia Police Department. At that time, I hadn't been at work too long in the morning when I happened to be in the communications center, and a news report came on which indicated that an airplane had flown into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Naturally, that grabbed your attention, and we were standing there and watching the news reports, and while we were watching that, there was a live shot that came on, and a second plane had flown this time into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. It was a disastrous looking occasion, and immediately it occurred to me that the United States could very well be under attack. This was no accident that we appeared to be under attack. As time went on, then it wasn't too much longer after that reports came out that the Pentagon had also been attacked, and shortly after that, a fourth prevented attack, but we didn't know it at that time that a fourth airplane had crashed in Pennsylvania. And it appeared as though it had also been hijacked. So it was a disastrous occasion. It struck all of us at the police department pretty much to our very core. At that time, we didn't know to what extent these incidents affected us or how many others there would be. But it was a devastating incident. We no doubt in our minds that we were under attack. We thought we were at war at that time, and our first thoughts were how we would protect ourselves and our families. From that point on, sometime later, as a matter of fact, it changed the lives of so many of us that even in my own case, I had attempted to become a federal air marshal, which was instituted at that time as a result of these. However, my age prevented me from doing that. They wouldn't take me at my age, so I was not able to do that. But that is the kind of thing, that the kind of effect that had on people, that we all gathered together, and for that short period of time, we were a united country again. and we were out to protect ourselves and our families and our nation.
My name is Tony Ye, and on September the 11th, 2001, I was sitting in the courtyard of the college where I attended, and I remember it being a very, very beautiful day. I think a lot of people have said that about that particular day, and it was so pretty. I was sitting on a park bench over kind of underneath a tree, and I was in between class periods and was just about to walk inside when one of my professors came up to me, and at this point in time I was a master's student, and so I had been there for quite a while, and school had just started, and my professor kind of pulled me off to the side, and he said, "Tony, you might want to be a kind of a comfort maybe to some of our younger students because the World Trade Center has just been attacked." And I looked straight at him and I said, "That's not funny." I thought he was joking, and I thought it was so preposterous to me that I really didn't believe that it was true. And he said, "I'm not joking, Tony." And I looked around in the hall and I noticed that there was a kind of a subdued buzz, and I quickly made my way to first to a radio, and I listened to the news, and I was just amazed and shocked that the Twin Towers had been attacked. And I remember sitting in the chapel that day, just thinking of the announcements being made about several of my friends who had family members who lived and worked in New York City, and how scared they must have been for their families. And as it turned out, none of my friends lost a loved one that day, and that was a big blessing. But I'll never forget that moment when I sat in when I was walking in from just having studied, and then realizing that our nation was under attack. And that is a moment in time that is forever emblazoned in my mind. I will never forget where I was or what I was doing on September the 11th, 2001.
Hello, my name is William Carpenter. On September 11th, 2001, I was in first grade. Today I am a senior in high school. At the time, the school that we had didn't tell the students directly what had happened, and we weren't completely sure. Some of the older students had suspected something happened, but I don't exactly remember anything unusual about the day. When we got home, on the way home, I could tell that something was wrong with my mom, and she just wasn't quite right. And she told us that some disaster had happened, something really bad had happened. And to a first grader, it scares you a little bit when your parents are scared, and you can see the fact that they're not exactly sure what's going to happen. When I got home, my dad was on his bed in his room, sitting down with his eyes glued to the TV. I'd never seen him like that in my entire life. And although at the time I could not understand exactly the horror of what was going on, I did understand that America was under attack and that we were in trouble.
My name is Barbara Baker, and on 9/11, the actual day, I was teaching second grade class at Penniman School in Cahokia, Illinois. I had internet in my classroom at that time. We were all trying to get computer used to everything, but I didn't have it on at the time the first tower was hit. The principal came and got us and privately told us what was going on. And then I went back in the classroom. My two nieces were up from Texas, both interested in becoming teachers, so they had gone in for the day. So they keyed in all the computers, and I didn't want my second graders left in the dark. Some teachers chose to do that, but I wanted them to recognize what was going on. I knew this was going to be a day in history for America. And so we gathered around the computers and actually saw the second tower, and then we went through everything, and then I pulled all of my students around me and did the reading center, and I started talking about, we'd already put in place for school, if someone came in with a gun, what we would do. go into the lockers. I would lock the door. We would put them out through a window, get them away if someone was there firing a gun, a terrorist. So we related this to the terrorist attack. And so I told them how I would protect them, that it was okay. They say you can't have prayer in public school, but on that particular day, there were a lot of prayers going on. I did not have prayer with my class, but we had almost a reverent association with each other. We started talking about death and the sadness, and I just gathered them all around, and they would tell me from an aunt and a grandma all the way down to a dog they had lost, and it was a very close time. We did some fun things. I just wanted them not to be fearful. I guess the most surprising part of the day, and I guess you would call it successful, was at the end of the day, as we were filing out, one of my little second graders, here this is one of the worst days, ranked right along with the assassination of President Kennedy in my life, and she hugged me and she said, "Mrs. Baker, this is the very best day of my life." And I knew that the closeness we had felt, and I successfully made them feel protected. But it was a very turmoil feeling for me as an adult, and I felt like that America had really changed on that day. In my lifetime, I didn't know of anybody having attacked on this soil, so it was a very devastating day.
Before we go, some closing thoughts. With the perspective of time, that terrible day 11 years ago has lost some of its terror. Sadly, we seem to have forgotten the lessons that we should have learned. The good that came of September 11th, the renewed sense of pride in America, the heightened respect for life, and an awareness of an eternity has faded in our memories and in the way we live our lives. The victims of the attack, the passengers and crew members on the 4 airplanes, and those who went to work in lower Manhattan at the Pentagon, expecting a normal day at work, those who never came home that night, have also been much forgotten except by their closest friends and families, whose pain will never go away. Lastly, we have to ask ourselves if we have learned the lessons of that horrific day. In Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, Joseph says to his brothers, "But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive." One day, I believe, there will be another 9/11. The ideals and aims of the radical Islamists have proven in the past that eventually they will devise and execute a new plot, if possible more heinous than the one in 2001, and will again bring America to her knees. On the evening of September 11th, 2001, the bars were empty and the churches were filled. On the 10th anniversary a year ago, not one clergy person of any faith was invited to participate in the commemoration. Perhaps if we stayed on our knees before an almighty God who hears and answers prayer, the next attack could be detected and thwarted before it ever happens. That's our broadcast for today. Until next week, I'm David Carpenter on behalf of our Great Day at Gateway team, reminding you, don't just make today a good day, make it a great day.